Hey kids, this is Zach. How you doing? Well, this is going to be kind of a weird video because I'm going to make a recap video about a session that is not over yet. I played last night, had the privilege to play in a solo session run by Francois Letarte and broadcast on his JDRD 30 channel. Solo session for my character Philippe Moreau in our All for One Régime Diabolique campaign. It was a blast. We had to start late because of schedule stuff, and we played from roughly about 10 to 12. We had to cut it short right on this great cliffhanger, and it's because one of Francois' kids got sick, and so we had to go. My computer wants me to do something here, which is irrelevant, but had to go, and that's I understand. I'm a father. My kids are much older now; they're grown, but Francois is a good father. You take care of your kids, so and it was a great cliffhanger at that point. So we may actually play the rest of it tonight at about 10 o'clock, or we may play it Saturday or Sunday at 9 o'clock, something like that. I'm not sure. So the session isn't quite over yet, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I was really just kind of blown away at how artfully and masterfully Francois was able to pull the rug from underneath my character and kind of attack my character on all fronts. For most of the session, if you watch it, you can see me kind of staggering as I don't know what to do, as my character doesn't know what to do. I know what to do, but I'm sitting there like, well, what is Philippe going to do at this point? And there were some interesting ways I expressed that, which are not normal for me, which I want to get back to. But Philippe Moreau is this young man, in case you don't know, but who wouldn't know, because of course you're watching these things, all right? But he's this young man, he's a musketeer, he's the youngest of 7 sons. He wants to matter, in ubiquity, in All for One Regime Diabolique. You have a motivation. And he also has these flaws of being curious and a thrill seeker. But, he's gone to Paris, he's been a musketeer for a couple of years, and he's from a little rural town, little backwater place. And in fact, Francois told me where I was from because I never really knew, because I'm not really that knowledgeable about France and that historical period. Everybody else that's been playing the game is, but I'm the kind of the odd man out. So it was really kind of neat. I got to say, out of character, thanks for letting me know where I'm from. This is cool. I always kind of wondered where this kid was from. But we open up the scene, or this I don't want to give away too much, but I'm probably going to. But he puts me face to face with my pride, as I had this scene with D'Artagnan. And instantly my pride is going head to head with wanting to be a good musketeer, wanting to do the right thing. Because that's part of it. Philippe wants to matter. He wants to become famous. He wants to be worth something, to make a name for himself. Monsieur de Treville calls me, kind of saved by the bell, and gives me a special mission, which I'm thrilled about. I'm telling you, everybody, I get a special mission. And we go to the palace. It's a mission for the king himself. So I'm swelling with pride at this point. I'm being chosen because I'm damn good with a sword, and also because I have experience with the supernatural. And most people do not have this experience with the supernatural. I get in a room with the king, with Louis, with the cardinal, with these other people, who I recognize a little bit later. And I'm given this mission because the king wants some documents that are in this ruined house, or castle, or whatever you want to call it, in the middle of this wood that's supposed to be haunted, But this man there, I'm supposed to escort him because he knows where the stuff is, and it's real simple, right? Well, then all hell breaks loose, and it breaks loose in terms of my character. I realize as we're making this trip that, in fact, this man is a tax collector. The people that I'm escorting him with, they are soldiers, and they are looking down on me because I'm a dandy. I am, just a musketeer. I haven't been to the front. I've been to the front, but not like them. And so I'm trying to once again, my pride, Philippe's youthful, brash nature is butting heads with, he has a mission. He wants to be a responsible musketeer. So you can see me constantly during the game kind of, biting my tongue, and a lot of my frustration that you'll see is Philippe's frustration kind of bleeding out. And it's been interesting throughout the entire game. I quipped to Anthony, this morning, I'm not sure whether this is because of my experience lately with the Veil, where we're supposed to externalize what our emotions are, what our internal state is, what the character is thinking, in that game. We're supposed to do that. That's part of how to play that game. I'm not sure if it's just that, and I was just kind of using that here, which is not necessarily what I like to do. I like to have more of an immersive, in-character, in my head experience. Or if it's because I didn't have any other player characters to interact with and talk about this stuff with. Or even any friendly NPCs. Like literally every NPC I've been in contact with, for most of us, they're really kind of hostile when it comes down to it. So that was kind of interesting. That was a really unusual experience I kept having, where I was narrating more of Philippe's state, like how frustrated he is. Why is he doing this? And then as we go down, this road to getting to where we need to go, we're passing through where I grew up, the towns near where I grew up, and we're coming head to head with how this tax that this man has collected in the past has impacted the peasantry. Because Philippe was a son of a minor noble, so he remembered this man coming. He remembered this father, not being really happy with this man, but they could afford it. But it was this crushing tax to a lot of the peasantry around him. And this is something that Philippe was isolated from as a younger boy, just didn't understand it. Now he's going to Paris for 2 years. He's lived somewhat of a life of luxury, compared to the peasants, his neighbors, the kids he grew up with. And now he's back here, and he ends up, having to protect this man from pretty much angry mobs. And even to the point where there was an altercation where afterwards, after the dust had settled, after one of these other soldiers that he was with was wiping off his blade, after Philippe finished off somebody else, he realized one of the dead men on the ground is a kid he grew up with, who wished him good luck, as he was going off to Paris to become a musketeer. And what has happened? And this is part of an actual revolt. Francois loves to bring in real history, but once again, my character is having these warring motivations. Like I'm a king's musketeer. I'm here to do a job for the king, but the king's tax is oppressive. So Philippe is coming face to face. He's having to make difficult choices, and I had to make some very difficult choices during the game. And even then, to the point where I'm in this tavern or wherever the heck it was that we ended up being attacked in, and I talked to the serving girl, and she informs me when she realizes who I am that my father's passed away and nobody's told me. So Philippe is having to kind of say, well, I'll grieve later. I have a job to do. But really, just I constantly felt like I was in a boxing ring, getting pummeled one after the other, and so Philippe is kind of reeling, which was great. So that was another great thing to happen in the game. Two really cool things I enjoyed. We've been having this talk about inserting elements into the scene, which I've talked about in some videos, but there is a mechanic in Ubiquity which hardly ever gets used, where you can spend a style point to insert something into the scene which makes sense for the scene. And so at one point I whipped out a style point and bought the fact that Jacques had a wine bottle, and I grabbed a full wine bottle from him and bashed somebody over the head. I didn't need to. I had a sword, but I thought that was kind of pretty cool for the scene. You don't stab a man from behind. You bash him over the head with a bottle. That's okay. But I needed to do something in a hurry because he was about to hurt the man that I'm sworn to protect. At least, who knows where these documents are? I can bring them back. I also got to use Jacques Skills. So far, part of the deal with All for One Regime Diabolique and Leagues of Adventures, you have a lackey or a servant, and they're an extension of your character. And so, Jacques has skills like investigation that my character does not have. And so far, I have not really been able to use those skills. And here it was a great example where Jacques was able to find something out that I couldn't. So it was a wonderful moment. Both of those moments were great. I really enjoyed having my lackey along and being able to use him and being able to use style in that manner. And then, at the end of the adventure, we are at this point where there's this incredible cliffhanger where I'm in a significant amount of danger. And literally, we're right there in the middle of a combat. And it's looking kind of grim. And at that exact moment, Francois' kid gets sick, and we have to end it. And I was transported back in time to our first session of All for One Regime Diabolique, where Philippe jumps into a fire, tries to push somebody out of it, fails, and we end the session there. I'm in the fire. And so I feel like I'm in the fire again. And so I had a great time, but just hats off to Francois for really just pulling out all the stops and just paying attention to like everything around my character, and just, it was really cool. It was really cool to play Philippe Moreau in that situation where, once again, I was just constantly off balance. Frustrating. It's frustrating in the moment. I think I talked about this in the video a little while ago. I'm frustrated. My character is frustrated, but it was a great experience. So really, really enjoying it. So hats off to Francois for doing an awesome job in the solo session. And we'll see what happens. To be continued.